Coming up on your news at 6, winter weather advisories tonight into tomorrow. Find out what to expect and when with a Storm Team 15 forecast coming up.
We have left the hospital with the person leaving right behind us at the same time.
Plus, more and more cases. Urbana police seeing an increase of incidents involving people in a mental or behavior crisis. Here are their plans to combat the issue.
And police need your help after a man is injured in a weekend shooting in Champaign. Your news at 6 starts now.
Well, we may technically be in spring now, but that is not going to stop the snow from falling, unfortunately. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm Elitza Bizio. Storm Team 15's Doug Quick live in our weather center. And Doug, you have been tracking this all day, so I just go ahead, be the bearer of bad news for us. Bad news first, then good news for us.
All right, I'll try to make this brief.
Okay.
Yes, we are in meteorological spring, technically speaking, but boy, you sure couldn't tell it by looking outside. With picking up all of the snow over the weekend, now we're back into some winter weather advisories. Now, we did get a bit of a break today, just enough to maybe clear out some of the snow in your driveway and sidewalks across the area, and sunshine certainly helped melt some of the snow cover in the roadways. But look what's occurring now. Back into a winter weather advisory here over the entire WICD NewsChannel 15 viewing area, in fact, all across mid-Illinois and mid-Indiana. And for the first time that I ever remember, at least for a long time, the entire area here is under snow cover. And you can see where that snow is the deepest, primarily south of I-72. Well, right now, looking at 23 degrees in Champaign, a little bit of a wind chill, feeling a little bit like 16 degrees, 18-degree wind chill in Danville, 24 degrees, the temperature there. We've got some precipitation moving up into the area, and that will come in the form of some freezing precipitation before it finally shifts over to rain later in the day tomorrow. But we're expecting some icy conditions overnight and early in the day tomorrow, and I'll have the latest with the Storm Team 15 forecast coming up. Elitza, now back to you.
All right. Thank you, Doug. And new tonight, 1 in 4 adults throughout the U.S. suffer from mental illness each year, according to the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And police tell us they're seeing more and more incidents of people in a mental or behavioral crisis. WICD News Channel 15's Nate Rogers live in studio with more. Nate.
Well, Urbana police tell us incidents involving people in a mental or behavioral crisis can become deadly. As a result, they have a specially trained unit to help meet the need. They're called the Crisis Intervention Team, and on average, they handle 2 to 3 cases a day. Currently, 22 Urbana officers are specially trained to handle these cases.
They bring in actors to act like they're in a behavioral health crisis, and you practice de-escalating them.
Their calls include people with dementia, schizophrenia, or those intoxicated, trespassing, or homeless. The biggest volume of calls is suicide-related.
The subject who's either threatening suicide as an attention-seeking behavior, or the subject who's truly suicidal.
In 2013, Urbana had 455 contacts for those in a mental health or behavior crisis. 2014, 509 contacts were made, and so far this year, 77. Community Elements in Champaign assists 10,000 people each year.
We evaluate their needs, get some sense of what the problem situation is, and if it is something that we can treat here, we will.
Crisis workers say although there are various resources to help those in a mental or behavior crisis, there are few, if any, same-day or emergency resources at your fingertips. Lieutenant Sanders says officers have very few options during crisis: the hospital, jail, or
what we most often do, and the one we hate, is we leave them in the same position they were in, or we do nothing.
Another obstacle, potential funding cuts. Ferguson says they could lose more than $1 million if Rauner's budget proposal goes through. She says that will make matters even worse, especially as more than 200 people are currently on their waiting list.
This wait list, I've been talking about it for this past year because we're limited in what funds we have to put towards that, and we put everything we can.
Now, Urbana police say they're really pushing for a drop-off center as seen in other states. That way, they can help address more people, especially those in emergency situations. Alita?
In Canate, in 2012, the CIT created a steering committee. It includes Urbana, Champaign, U of I, Rantoul, Champaign County deputies, and various mental health providers. They meet monthly to discuss the current state of mental and behavior issues, as well as appropriate protocol.
A Mohammed man has been charged with the possession and sale of child pornography. 49-year-old James Visaki was arrested last Thursday after Urbana police found Visaki was allegedly running a file-sharing network that distributed and sold pornographic images of children. Visaki confessed to all of the crimes after his arrest. Police are now searching Visaki's computer hardware, telling WICD they are not sure of how many images he had, but are estimating the number to be over 1,000. Visaki is already bonded out of jail. His next court date will be this Thursday.
New tonight, a 22-year-old man shot outside of a bar in downtown Champaign. It happened early Saturday morning near the High Dive Bar. Champaign police are investigating. WICD News Channel 15's Kim Shine speaking with police today and is live now in Champaign with more. Kim.
Elitza, investigators tell us that police responded Saturday at 2:33 in the morning because of a fight in the parking lot right here near the High Dive Bar. And about 3 minutes later, they heard a gunshot. Now, they say countless people and multiple cars were already leaving the scene, and that's when officers found a 22-year-old man with a gunshot wound. Now, police say that they stopped several vehicles to get any possible information, and Deputy Chief Troy Daniel says problems like this can happen when bars are emptying overnight.
So in locations where there are bars and they're emptying afterwards, people can get into disagreements or fights. And in this particular case, in the case 2 weeks ago, there were people that were in disagreements and fights occurred, and then gunfire occurred.
There was another weekend shooting near High Dive on February 14th near Walnut in Washington, but police do not believe that these two incidents are connected. And right now, investigators are just asking for your help to figure out what actually happened Saturday morning here at High Dive. Live in Champaign, Kim Shine, WICD News Channel 15.
Thanks, Kim. Investigators believe there are witnesses to this shooting. Anyone with information should call Champaign Police or Crime Stoppers.
Fire investigators are still looking into what caused a fire at the Budget Motel south of Danville on Route 1 early this morning. According to the Westville Fire Chief, the fire started around 5 in the morning in a laundry room. 5 volunteer fire crews reported to the scene. No one was injured in the fire, and the fire chief says the main structure was vacant at the time of the fire. The estimated cost of the fire is unknown at this time. The fire damaged a room in one structure and melted the siding of another. Other rooms in the motel sustained smoke damage. New at 6 o'clock, a memorial mass taking place today to remember Vicente Mundo, a University of Illinois student who was shot and killed back in January. Dozens visited the Newman Center at St. John's Chapel. They shared stories and talked about the life of Mundo. Relatives of Mundo who were at the service say it feels good to know people still care about him. Julieta, his sister, says some high school friends of his were able to raise enough money for a fundraiser to try to create a new scholarship in his name.
And that he really was loved. You know, a lot of, today the fundraiser on Saturday are things that we didn't request, but people offered. And that really means a lot.
She adds these acts have helped her family start the process to moving forward, but the memory of Mundo continues to cause her family a lot of pain.
Well, unofficial St. Patrick's Day is this weekend at the University of Illinois. Local law enforcement say their message is the same: be safe. Today at a joint press conference, police say they're focusing on public safety. University leaders want students to look out for each other, but still reminding them that unofficial is not supported by the U of I. Police are expecting parties, but advise students to keep them small, keeping watch on who they allow into their homes.
Treat it like a Super Bowl party if you're going to have a party. There's a lot of Super Bowl parties that occur on campus every year during Super Bowl, yet we have very little problem. We ask hosts to know your guests, only invite guests that are 21 years of age, and only allow invited guests into the parties.
Clark says most incidents happen because of uninvited or unknown guests. Last week, police and students participated in Walk as One. They knocked on 4,000 doors and emailed safety information to more than 20,000 students.
Coming up after the break, the Champaign mayoral debate. We tell you the latest on what the candidates discuss.
Plus, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speaks. Find out what the leader of Israel had to say about the relationship with the United States. You're watching WICD News Channel 15. Here tonight, 2 Illinois lawmakers announcing bipartisan legislation. It would spend $25 million to fight an epidemic of heroin and prescription drug abuse. Democratic Representative Leader Lou Lang and Republican Rep John Anthony saying the proposal is far cheaper than watching the problem continue to grow across Illinois. The legislation would require drugs combating heroin overdoses to be dispensed and administered more widely. Some cast doubt, though, that the measure can even be approved when the state faces a multi-billion-dollar budget hole. Well, more information released about Congressman Aaron Schock. New reports from the Associated Press suggesting that Schock billed taxpayers more than $10,000 for private plane expenses last fall. The trips even included one to a Chicago Bears football game. The expenses are not including more than a dozen trips on donors' planes that the congressman paid for out of his House office expenses or campaign funds since joining Congress in 2009. A spokesperson for Schock has not commented on these new allegations. Well, we are almost a month away from the April 7th election. The big question, who is going to be the next mayor for the city of Champaign? Tonight, the 4 candidates are debating the top issues facing the city. WICD News Channel 15's Angelica Sanchez live at the debate. She joins us now with more. Angelica.
That's right, Alita. The debate started just a few moments ago, and this is day 2 of debates for the candidates. Yesterday, they were at the Douglas Center, hosted by the North End Men's Breakfast Club. However, tonight, they are being hosted by the American Federation of Labor and the Congress of Industrial Organizations. The main talking points tonight will be on unions. Specifically, how will the next mayor of Champaign handle the governor's recently proposed right-to-work legislation? Also on the table tonight, education in the city of Champaign and how teacher unions could be affected. As a reminder, those running for the mayoral seat are current Mayor Don Gerard, City Councilwoman Karen Foster, City Councilwoman Deborah Finan, and current Champaign Park District President Joseph Petrie. For now, live in Champaign, I'm Angelica Sanchez, WICD News Channel 15.
All right, thanks, Angelica. We're going to have more on the issues they talked about at tonight's debate, plus a whole lot more. We've got more stories coming up, all happening on Nightside.
And we're going to check out the snow on the Sullivan Park Hill street cam from earlier today in Urbana. Now more winter weather is on the way. And we're back under a winter weather advisory a little later tonight through at least early in the day tomorrow. I'll let you know what to expect and when. We've got the storm team forecast coming up. You're watching WICD News Channel 15.
You're watching WICD News Channel 15. This is News at 6 with Alita Bezios, Doug Quick, and Josh Getzoff. You're watching WICD News Channel 15.
So things are going to get worse before they get better.
Yeah.
But the good news is that they are going to get better.
They will get better. In fact, by the weekend, we expect to see temperatures pretty close to what's typical for this time of year, and I think you'll be pleased by that. We're still, though, looking at a messy situation. By the way, we want to compliment all of the people out there that were involved in getting rid of that snow yesterday off of roadways and such. They did an excellent job, and this was some of the highest snowfall totals we've seen here locally in quite some time. And boy, things are looking quite excellent out there. A lot of dry pavement, and hats off to you. Well, Tilton traffic cam looking down along Georgetown Road. This is courtesy of the Village of Tilton and VermilionWeather.com. Things looking nice, at least as far as the roadway is concerned. But we're dealing with a snow cover across much of the area, and we did enjoy some sunshine today, but it was still quite chilly, at least here in central Illinois, a little warmer out to our west. But now we're back under weather advisories, and we'll show those to you coming up. Here a look at some of the snowfall totals, including Danville at 8.2 inches there. We showed you some different totals at 5 o'clock. And even in Champaign, looking at 8 inches of snow there. But look at the current temperatures here in mid-Illinois, pretty much touch in the mid-20s, and it was a little warmer out in western Illinois. 30 degrees currently in Jacksonville, but we're down into the low 20s here in Champaign. 23, 26 right now in Mattoon, and 24 in Danville. Here's a look at some of the other temperatures. At least we're in double digits across the region. We're going to be looking at these temperatures up to around 40 degrees by the time we get into the weekend, and that certainly is a positive. But in the meantime, this is what we're looking at. Freezing rain, sleet, and rain during the overnight. We do expect to see some ice accumulation, so allow yourself a little extra time to get out there and scrape your windows if you leave your vehicle outside. And things will warm during the overnight. We'll be back up to around 40 degrees tomorrow, but then once again, it's going to turn cooler as we finish out the weekend, and we do expect things to warm up as we get into the weekend, and that's certainly some positive news. In the meantime, though, here we go, looking out to the southwest, starting to see those clouds thicken up, and that'll be moving into our area a little later. In the meantime, though, we were looking at high pressure today, allowing us some sunshine, but here comes this storm system, and this thing is a fast mover. It's going to be whipping right up across the Midwest. In advance of that, a warm front. We're looking at warmer conditions here across central Illinois, and then eventually, as it moves through, we'll see much colder air start to filter into the area. Let's show you that area here. This is all of the News Channel 15 viewing area is under that winter weather advisory during the overnight and through the earlier part of the day tomorrow. 25 for the overnight tonight. Quite a messy situation. It'll be even messier tomorrow with rain and temperatures around 40 degrees. If you have a storm drain in front of your house, it'd be a good idea to maybe clean the ice out from in front of it. Otherwise, you may end up with a flooded street. But we do see that cool down as we finish out the week. And once again, back up into the 40-degree range as we get into the weekend with some sunshine there. And you'll notice no precipitation in that 7-day forecast once we get through the day tomorrow.
We're getting so close.
We're getting better.
Getting closer to the light at the end of the tunnel.
You think?
Cold spring.
We hope
well,
so.
We're there, but the real spring, right?
Yeah.
All right.
The real spring on the 20th.
There you go. Coming up after the break, Netanyahu speaks. Find out what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say today in response to reports of strained relations with the United States. You're watching WICD News Channel 15. The Department of Justice preparing to conclude its investigation into the Ferguson Police Department, which could lead to a lawsuit against the department.
Sources tell CNN that the Department of Justice found a pattern of racially discriminatory tactics used by officers over the years, and they could face a lawsuit if the department does not make changes on its own.
According to the report, it's expected to be released sometime this week. The DOJ is going to find the police department has had a history of discrimination. Attorney General Eric Holder has said he expects to announce the results of the department's investigation of the shooting death of Michael Brown sometime in the next few weeks.
City of Cleveland responded to a wrongful death lawsuit filed by Tamir Rice's family, saying the 12-year-old's death was his own fault. In November, Cleveland officer Timothy Lohman fired the fatal shots at Tamir within 2 seconds of arriving outside of a recreational center where the 6th grader was playing with a pellet gun. A witness called 911 to say there was a guy with a pistol and that although the weapon was probably fake, Tamir was scaring people. Cleveland authorities have repeatedly said that Lohman mistook Tamir's fake gun for a real one. Cuyahoga County has issued no determination as to whether the events that caused the boy's death constitute a crime.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing a pro-Israeli lobby group this morning in Washington.
He spent part of his speech defending his planned address to Congress on Tuesday. Critics claim the speech is an example of Netanyahu's strained ties with President Obama, but Netanyahu says his speech is not meant to slight the president. He also said that reports of strained relations between the U.S. and Israel are not true.
First, let me clarify what is not the purpose of that speech. My speech is not intended to show any disrespect to President Obama or the esteemed office that he holds. I have great respect for both.
Coming up after the break, Illini win breakdown. We'll go over the Fighting Illini's big win over the weekend, what player we could see more of in the future. After their blowout win over Northwestern on Saturday, the Illini still have hopes of dancing this March. To be able to turn those hopes into dreams and into reality, they're going to need to continue to get full team effort, even from players many expected early in the year to not truly be factors. One of those players is sophomore forward Austin Colbert. The Illini big man has had to fight his way back onto the court for playing time, pushing himself up the depth chart and into position battles with players like LaRon Black and Maverick Morgan. Colbert chipping in 5 more points off the bench in an Illinois win on Saturday, that is, again logging important minutes and making contributions, and no one is more excited about his progress than his coach.
At the beginning, when you guys asked me, we played him almost out of necessity, to be honest. I mean, we lacked depth, we had guys injured, we had guys out. And what happened is he took full advantage of that opportunity and just kept throwing, I've used the analogy, strikes, and kept throwing more strikes and getting more confident, playing better in practice, competing better in practice, more locked in, better focus. And he just kept stringing day after day after day together. He's a big part of our rotation.
The Illini are going to honor their seniors at senior night against Nebraska this Wednesday at State Farm Center.
You know, over the last few days, it seemed like we just couldn't get a break here. And tonight, we're still looking at some wintry type weather. But trust me when I say there is some better weather ahead. Here's what we're looking at. All of those counties shaded in blue or purple or whatever color you want to call it under a winter weather advisory tonight through much of the day tomorrow. Seeing a little bit of snow out there, out to the northeast, not reaching the ground at the present time, but it will a little bit later. We're expecting to see some freezing precipitation during the overnight, a much colder day on Wednesday, and then things start to improve as we approach the weekend. We'll tell you more about that coming up tonight on Nightside at 10.
We'll see you then. Have a good one.